What is going on? This is AlTone, and today I actually wanted to give you an overview and a quick little tour of this, which is now my portable, somewhat durable ground station and flight simulator setup. So I know the first thing many people say is, why did I need to build this? And the reason why is because I had the parts available and I wanted to build it and just take advantage of some of the things that I, again, had available and around me. Much of the functionality that you will find with this particular setup, you could actually get it out of a laptop relatively inexpensively. But there are some things about this that I think are valuable to me specifically, and I don't know, maybe this is something you decide that you want to do. You may have many of the components that I'm using to build this around, and therefore you could actually put something together yourself. Or you may find that doing things this way actually adds additional functionality and whatnot to your setup, and which is the reason why I'm showing you this. So first of all, from the outside, this is a Nanook 9030 hard case. It is basically a waterproof case. This case is what I was using to carry all of my GoPro cameras and all of that in the past. I decided to gut this case and then now reposition it or repurpose it for the purpose of using it as a ground station for some of the autonomous vehicles and projects that I'll be working on, as well as a flight simulator. So this will allow me to take it out to any place that I want to and be able to share and have individuals be able to get into a flight simulator and possibly even get interested in the RC hobby and be able to fly drones and RC aircraft. And as we move forward, I will share with you shortly the reason why I chose this particular case out of many of the cases I actually have in order to use for this purpose. Outside of just the size and easy, it's just easy to carry. And I can throw this anywhere, in the back seat, back of the truck. I can put it pretty much anywhere. I don't have to worry about the electronics getting damaged, and it's just a great little case. So let's get into the case. Let me show you what we have going on here so you can take a look and see if this might be something that you want to do yourself. Here we have it. Like I said, we have two locks here on the side, on the front, and you can open these up just by pushing the buttons down, which is really great. If you wanted to put a padlock or be able to lock the case so nobody can open it, you do have two nice little holes here in which you could actually put a lock on, which I think is also great. In the middle here, if for some reason pressure builds up, it makes it difficult to open the case, there's a pressure release valve here as well. And of course, just ignore some of my other RC stuff I've got going on back here. So here I have a KYY. It's basically a 15-inch monitor. I have it loose in the case with the cover, and that will sit up here like so. I'm using this. Eventually I may mount the monitor in the top, but for now this works out really good for me. I think it's perfect. And then I just have this nice little piece of foam. It actually was the foam that came in the bottom of the case that I'm repurposing just to cover up everything here. And then of course I have manuals for everything. Now on the side here I actually have a power cord because this guy does not have internal power. Eventually that may be an upgrade that I try to put in there, try to put an external power source. Often what I'll do is I'll carry something like this. This is 78,000 milliamp hour power station. I'll carry something like this to use with this system if I'm not going to have a place where I can plug or have actual external or power where I can plug into, and that will allow me to run this guy for at least at the minimum 4 hours. So one of the first things I wanted to share with you about this setup is the reason why I use this case. One, the sizing was perfect. 15.6 inch monitor fits in there perfectly. It was just enough space for me to put in a mini PC, which is underneath our logo here, underneath this panel. I was able to actually put in the controller that we'll use for flight simulator, a keyboard in here that actually has built-in trackball and basically mouse and all of that, and it's wireless. Then we have two fans here to help keep the computer cool and an opening here, and that is where our speaker system is located at. Then of course we have a pluggable USB-C hub here that has a HDMI connection on it and a couple of USB-A ports as well as a USB-C, so that we can bring those connections outside of the panel from the mini PC inside, so that if we do need to plug in external devices such as flight controllers for programming, we can do that here. So we have a Start RC controller that plugs into a USB-C connection that's also plugged into our mini PC, and that plugs into here. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in now, so we're gonna demonstrate one of the flight simulators on this guy in just a second. But this guy plugs in and is already configured for the mini, and it works with every single flight simulator that we have on there. Then our power cord, because we have an opening here for that, I'm just running the power cord out of this opening here. So this top panel is 3D printed. I used my Anycubic Cobra to 3D print this. I used Onshape with some measurements to design this top plate, and then I 3D printed it in sections to fit on the 3D printer print bed. The keyboard tray was too large for the print bed, so we do have a split in the keyboard tray, but the controller tray fit on the print bed and in the print area of that printer, so we did print that there. And then we use some glue specific for binding plastics together. It actually melts the plastic and binds the plastic together, which made this extremely strong, and then we were able to bolt it in. One of the reasons I did say again for using this particular case, the Nanook 9030 case, happens to be one that actually has bolt holes. So if you make a top panel, you can actually bolt into the top panel. And on the corner here, you could actually see one. There's actually more of these holes than what I actually used for this top panel. So for whatever reason, after taking it out and putting it back in over time, if I need to, I can always either create a new panel, or I can drill holes in this panel and then mount everything. And I'm actually using M3 screws, if I remember correctly, to hold this in place. So it is in there, it is solid, and stuff is not bouncing around, which is fantastic. Underneath the keyboard here, there's a surge protector with USB connections on it. That surge protector actually has a power switch to turn it on and off, which I reach through the openings here in order to turn that on and off. And then with the mini PC over here, I can actually reach in and turn on the mini PC. I've been looking for ways to put switches on here that will turn on the power supply and turn on the mini PC from the outside, so I don't need those openings there. But for now, that serves as a purpose, because these fans actually blow air out of the unit, blowing a heat out. And then these openings don't just let sound out, but it also gives it a place for the air to go into, so that it can keep everything cool inside the unit. I have yet to have the mini PC get too hot, but we haven't actually taken this guy out on a hot summer day yet and used it, so we'll see how that works out. But I'm hoping that these fans are going to help keep everything cool up underneath here, and we'll probably try our best to keep everything shaded so that it won't cause too much of a problem. This top panel is 5 millimeters thick. It does have an infill, but it is relatively, because of how thin it is relatively strong, and even with a little bit of heat, it should be able to handle that without any issues. On top of the fact that I actually glued this entire top panel together, and then when it bolted into the case itself, that's adding strength as well. It should last me a very, very long time. And I'm actually even thinking about building a second one in the future, so that we can have two of them anytime we have events and whatnot, so I can actually have two different flight simulators running at the same time. I can have a fixed wing and a drone, or a drone soccer, or multiple drone soccer flight simulators running at the same time. So let's turn this guy on. First, we're going to plug him in. I made sure I had a surge protector with an L-shaped adapter on it. And as we plug this guy in and turn him on, you'll start to hear the speaker come on, the monitor is going to come on, and then we're going to hit the button to turn on the PC. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly.
Off mode.
So our screen is coming on now. I just tapped the button. Trico is our mini PC that's in here. They are the manufacturers of the mini PC, and of course we have just popped up, and this is our screen. And the keyboard, which is battery powered and wireless. There's a dongle connected to the mini PC, and one of the mini PC connections that allows us to be able to use it. So let's go ahead and log in really quickly. Okay, we're logged in. I'm going to change this background screen and put our logo on there eventually. We'll do a little bit more customization, but that is it. The good thing is the way this sits, and I did not think about this before, I really don't have to take the keyboard out in order to be able to use the keyboard while I am doing what I'm doing. So the keyboard only needs to come out when I turn the two switches on, and that's it. And when I turn off the overall power station, because I can actually turn off the PC using the keyboard going to the Windows. Now it is using a Windows PC, and like I said, this is something that, I mean, if you have a good laptop, you don't need something like this for the purpose of using it as a ground station for your autonomous vehicles, or for using for flight simulators, because we do use just regular laptops for flight simulators. But I like this because it's compact. Everything is together. If my keyboard dies at some point, I can replace it with a very similar keyboard. Same thing, if my controller for some reason dies at some point, I can just replace it with another controller. I have a space for that. As long as it fits there, we're good. If my speaker dies, if any parts of this stop functioning, including my mini PC, I can always replace the mini PC in the case, put a new one in here, and set it up, and it's going to function in the same way. Not only that, but it allows me to be able to carry everything around in this one case, with the exception of a power supply, without having to carry anything extra. Like I said, something like this would be the only extra thing I would need to carry if I don't have access to power to where I'm going to be using it. So let's talk about this for a little bit. So what we have is, I have currently on this machine, as far as flight simulators, I have Start RC or Start Drone Flight Simulator, well, Start FPV Flight Simulator, Skydive Flight Simulator. Skydive actually has within it training for drone soccer, which is awesome. Liftoff Micro Drones, which is on Steam. Drone Racing League, which is also a Steam simulator. Aerofly RC10, which is also a Steam simulator, and Real Flight Evolution, which is awesome. And of course, I have the Steam application installed on the machine as well. And currently it's connected to my home Wi-Fi, but if we go someplace else and we do need Wi-Fi, we can actually connect it. This particular controller will work with every single one of, and I have it set up on every single one of these flight simulators, and it is one I'm using. And if you're using any of these flight simulators and you prefer not to use this particular controller, you can use other controllers with those flight simulators. But I'm here just to tell you that this particular one works with every single one of them, which is awesome. Then, of course, we also have Mission Planner. So I have Radio Link Mission Planner, which I'll be using to configure Radio Link flight controllers, and then I have a regular version of Mission Planner here as well. This is Mission Planner for Autopilot. We're going to be using this to set up our Radio Link flight controllers, as well as if we're doing any other, using Autopilot with any other flight controllers, we'll be using this to configure those flight controllers as well. So we have that running on here, and of course that is the purpose. We'll also be using a telemetry radio connected to this, which is part of the reason why we needed to make sure we had USB connections here. So just to share this with you, this is Start RC Flight Simulator, and one thing you're not hearing a sound because the sound is actually turned down. So this opening here serves a couple of different purposes. This opening allows for my power cord to come out. Even though my surge protector is on this side, I ran the opening here for the power station on that side. But also right here, there's a knob on the side of my speaker in which I can actually turn the volume up. And now you can hear the speakers playing in there, and they are relatively loud. So if we start flying using our keyboard, and this is a really good way of training and teaching people how to fly. Now, I'm not flying for time right now, I'm just flying, but normally if you're flying for time, it will actually tell you for this, for your it actually give you times and tell you how quickly you're flying this, and you compete against yourself as well as against other people flying. But the good thing is, this is a fantastic system. Now, part of the reason why I have it set up the way I do as well is so that if I decide I want to, I can actually set a separate screen up. And that's the end. So this is set up this way. I think it's really cool. I really enjoy having this set up, and I actually use this for my flight training, personal flight training, all the time. But again, I really like having the system set up this way. I think it works out really good for me, and I think it will be very much beneficial for you if you decided you wanted to build something like this. If nothing else, the experience of building, the experience of designing in 3D printing, like I did in Onshape or online CAD program, and then exported this out, put the files in my 3D printer, printed the files out, assembled everything. It took me quite a while to get this completed, but it took me a couple of weeks actually. If I had dedicated time to doing nothing but this, I probably could have completed it within about 3 or 4 days. Outside of 3D printing the parts, because the parts did take some time to 3D print, and especially with a single 3D printer. But this is my setup. I think it's fantastic, and it's one, again, I'm thinking about building another one to see if we can make that work for our community and really be able to introduce the RC hobby, at least in this way, drones and fixed-wing RC aircraft, to our community, so that they can have the opportunity of actually trying out to see if they're interested, practicing, learning how to fly, and getting those initial flights in to become acclimated with flying RC and FPV. So thanks so much for coming by and checking this out with me. Here I am in real flight evolution real quick with one of the aircrafts very similar to an aircraft that I own. I'm just going to take us out of this video flying this nice little RC aircraft. So thanks again for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Hope this has helped you in some way, or at least inspired you to come up with your own designs, or find a way to take things that you have available to you and to be able to use them for a purpose in which you think is going to be beneficial for you, your family, or your community. So thanks again, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Oh.